Hello, everybody.
Uh,
Welcome to the Q&A session.
okay. People will probably start filtering in about another 2 minutes or so. All right, microphone for me going off, and I will provide you with one question here.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is the Q&A session for relationships. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Post your questions, and I'll do my best for you. And I have one right now. What is the most common subconscious block that negatively impacts relationships? And how can we start to heal it? What is the most common subconscious block? It's a very good question. It's a general question, so we'll try to hit that. See what is going on in our relationships is there are wounds, data, downloads, impressions, imprints in our subconscious. It acts as a reference system. The subconscious is like a reference system, data system. And as I was saying in the last Q&A, when it's recording what's going on at hyper detail, 40 million bits per of information per second minimum, it's also recording it within the context of whatever's happening. So if something was perceived or taken in as mean or cruel or hurtful or confrontational, it's in your system. Then when you meet somebody or your friend or your lover or anybody, your boss, co-workers, they trigger various impressions, imprints, and downloads in your subconscious. If everything is really wonderful between you and them, they're triggering all the nice things. And we use the term aligned. They're aligned with you, they resonate with you, everything's fine. But what occurs, of course, is we all have tons of wounds and all kinds of stuff in there. And the other person he's like the person playing the keyboard. And if there is not in resonance, it's not aligned, it triggers those issues, and all of a sudden there's trouble between the two of you. That's and then the other most common thing is carryover. What is a carryover? It's a story. So the story runs through entanglements. So if they trigger something in you, and then that starts, then the mind runs with it, and that triggers that, which goes to that, which means that, which could bring this, and we get lost, and the relationship has trouble. I hope I answered that question. That's a hard question because it spans so many things. When you're looking at people, it's hard to have a most common subconscious issue. Now let's see. I saw a bunch of questions coming in here. Hold on. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining Q&A. Hello, everybody. If you're joining, if you're viewing, okay. So let me have your next question, please. How do karmic ties affect our relationships? And how do we heal them? Another very good question. Deep questions for depth healing. How do karmic ties? Well, they karmic ties can affect us in a million different ways. Um, you've often heard, or you'll hear people say that we knew each other in a past life. That's a karmic tie. That can be absolutely accurate. It can also be a mistake, but many times it's very accurate. And the karmic tie can be positive or it can be negative. It can switch roles. Might be a karmic tie where one of you was a teacher and the other was a student, or one of you was a general, the other was the soldier, one was a man, the other was a lady, and it can always switch around and every, and then by resonance they find each other again, and the story continues. And there'll be a very strong pull. There will be a recognition of each other. If it's a negative, like a karmic debt, uh, Mr. A killed Mr. B long time ago. Now there is a karmic debt. So when they meet each other, here comes trouble, like revenge or something. How do you heal karmic? Uh, Karmas are a real big deal. A depth healing, I have a certain amount of ability to handle karma like that. However, the fundamental agency for handling karmas is the divine. And that's why I have my bond with the divine. I operate through and by the divine. And I can do both through Diksha now and through the prayer that I'm empowered for. That's how we handle that. But it's not me doing it. Always remember, when it comes to me, I'm a relay station. If it's a karma, then it has to be, all the power goes to the divine. When it's depth healing and it's just subconscious programming, I'm doing it using the science, and that's empowered by the divine. I hope you understand the difference. Okay, let's see here. How do karmic, wait a minute, affect our relationship? How do karmic ties affect our relationship? So I saw that question twice. What's this one? What is the most difficult relationship from a client to be healed? You mean, I guess this question means it's from GCL. Um, what is the most difficult one I've ever had? Is that what you mean by that? The most difficult relationship. Oh, I know how to answer that. The most difficult of all, and in one case, even after an entire year, they never healed. The most difficult kind of relationship issue to heal is when the person is in victim consciousness. So, victim consciousness would mean, what I'm referring to there is that a victim believes that the outer circumstance or the other person is responsible for everything, and they feel like they're being attacked or they're the victim. They don't or cannot see that they're part of that, because everything's dependently arising, dependently ceasing. So in actuality, a victim is impossible, actually. So if they have a real strong victim consciousness tied to self-justifying stories, that is really, really, really hard to break. The first thing I have to do there is bring them to a state of consciousness where they can see their role, because the relationship problem cannot happen without them. You know what I mean? It's like the sound when the Zen master says, "What is the sound of one hand clapping?" And there's one hand. So that is the hardest one. If I can't bring them to that state, then they're never going to get out of the story. And I can always get them out of the state, out of victim consciousness, if I have enough time, and they will come and persist. When you have issues, when you have developmental issues like that, you have to stay with it. You won't just get a miracle cure, and then all of a sudden uh, everything is perfect. Doesn't work that way, right? These Anything in the subconscious is huge, and every time you see me when we're doing things, we're cutting slices into the pie. You can't get the whole pie at one time. I hope I answered that. That's an excellent question. I love these questions. Robbie, how do I learn to let go of certain circumstances when it serves me no purpose? Well, that's a beautiful question. One, you come and see me and we'll disintegrate it. Number two, as we're disintegrating those things, what is happening to you, to my clients? Your consciousness or their consciousness is rising every single time. Never ever, no matter what, if you think nothing happened, that's not true. Your brain and your consciousness is always rising when you do this type of subconscious work. Always. Eventually, you'll reach a level of consciousness where things, you don't have to worry or work to let them go. They just fall away. It's like as if you had grease on your shoulders, and when water touches grease, it just falls off. That's a high level, but it'll come. And also, carryovers will become less and less and less. I used to have carryovers with my temper, or if someone hurt me or insulted me, can last from hours, days to months. And some of them, when I was a young buck, could last for years. Now they last, for me, a minute maximum, a lot of times only a few seconds. And many things that used to bother me, they just, they don't bother me at all. And then so it's a matter of consciousness and the level, and your process to get there is use depth healing and these tools that I've been graced with to clear these things out, because we move that fast. Okay, let's see here. I hope. How do we attract a partner who aligns with our higher self? Beautiful question. First and foremost, when you want to attract someone who is really aligned to you, now the way the question's worded, aligned with your higher self. So most of us, including myself, we don't know what our higher self is, because that's why it's called the higher self. It's way up there, and it's the higher self, the actual higher self, is a very very different reality, very different thing. But to align to your highest, let's take that down a notch and say, if you identify all your highest ideals for yourself, for your relationships, for your life, and then you say, How can I attract the person who aligns with that? One is you define it. You establish clarity. That clarity the divine can act on. The universe can act on. If you're not clear on exactly the values, the qualities, um, how you feel with them, how you uh, are together, the universe has a cloudy, static image. Doesn't know what to bring you. It'll bring you the static. It's only going to bring it's going to bring us what we are. Even when you create your divine as a model to relate to it, you cannot create a great God if you're not great. You'll only be able to create up to who you are. That's why I can't heal myself as a healer. Almost no healer can, because if their hurt is greater than their healing level. Otherwise, they wouldn't get hurt. I hope I'm making sense. It's very, very important to understand. That's why I always emphasize to all of you, sit down and take the time to really think and look and identify all of your core values in each area of your life and establish that kind of clarity. And in those values, so in this subject matter, you think about relationships. What has to be there to be happy and content and inspired? Or if you cannot figure those out, invert the question. What absolutely must not be there? And you'll find it. And then the universe can align you. And you ask the universe, you say to your divine, I want to meet my partner that's aligned with me. And you can say, and we can grow together. Because many times partners, what happens is one is doing inner work, the other one is not. So the person doing inner work is growing, the other person is not, and eventually they'll grow apart. That happened to me. That happens to everybody that does inner work, unless your partner is also doing inner work. That's a big issue, because levels of consciousness will separate. Let's see, what do we got here? Please comment and provide your perspective on this. One of the neuroscientists strongly encourages one way to reprogram the subconscious into listen positive affirmation. Hello, Dr. Fay. So I think the way it's written is a little off, but neuroscientists are saying listen to positive affirmations while you're sleeping. Nothing wrong with that, honey. That's very, very good. The only trick is this, and this was told to me by Dr. George Goodhart Jr., founder of Applied Kinesiology himself. If you buy affirmations made by somebody, I do not recommend, and none of them recommend listening to that, in case it's corrupted or it's made by somebody very sophisticated who knows what's called cognitive warfare. So the use of the wording is very subtle and changes the meaning, and then all night long you're programming yourself according to somebody else's agenda or misinformation. The best way to do that while you're sleeping, you make your own tapes. make your own recordings. And if you're using music, same thing, be careful because they can put everything and anything, and it's you have to realize just in the COVID pandemic stuff, if you look at the corruption in the medical profession and you know all of the social media, everything was bought out. So don't openly trust something like that, because as George Goddard told me, when you're accessing your subconscious mind, that's if you're going to guard your money in a safe, that's nothing compared to your subconscious. So you guard your subconscious very, very carefully, eh? I hope I answered that, Faye. um, okay, yes, okay, all right. How do we foster better communication with a partner who seems emotionally distant? Well, there's a couple of things there. One is give them space to be, and what you can do is you can generate a field of love in your heart for 5 minutes, and then after you've generated that state, pull up a picture of them so you can look at them, or in your mind if you have a really clear, and then 11 times. First, breathe in to the heart, and as you breathe out for 11 breaths in a row, send all your love to them. They will receive it. And you can repeat that process 11 breaths at a time. And that will start to heal and open their heart. And then what you can do if you have an issue like that, you can call me and we'll have a session, and I will remove the interference that's causing them to be emotionally distant. Something is, there's a hurt or an anger, or there's something, it's been triggered, and I will remove that using the technology, and then they come together. I've done that for hundreds, thousands and thousands of people over a span of over a decade. That's a very common issue, eh? So that's not hard. If you go through me, it's not difficult. But what you can do yourself is generate love, and with your breath and intention, you send it to them, and of course, let them have space. Honor their feelings. I hope I answered that. What is the impact of unresolved ancestral energy? Well, interesting question. What is the impact of unresolved ancestral energy on our relationships? Now, this is the time in human history where that's coming to bear, because Kali Yuga is winding down to its end. So, as I've said in other sessions and so forth, the karmic field is quickening, thickening, sort of like a bowl of rice soup. Rice absorbs water, and if you leave it there long enough, it gets real thick, and the water drops down. It becomes very thick. Well, that's what's happening to the karmic field. So unresolved ancestral issues can come to your shoulders. And how can it impact your relationships? It can destroy them completely. You'll hear people say, they'll say something like, we were going along just fine. Everything was lovely. And then I don't know what happened. They just became very bitter or strange and they left, or unresolved ancestral energy might destroy their health or kill them. Like suddenly they develop a severe cancer and they're gone in days or weeks, a couple of months. All kinds of unresolved ancestral. That's the second program. Very, very powerful. So that's why doing clearings, when you do this kind of work that I do with depth healing, it's a very specific kind of maintenance for um, you know how when you brush your teeth so you don't get cavities, you clean the subconscious as the unconscious unfold. See, it's unfolding all the time. Why? Because you're alive. That's why we're here in this arena called Earth. And the relationships are the number one learning tool and the number one uh, major mirror. And the second program runs 6 generations back. I got to pull. I got a. I saw this thing. The guy had done the math on how many people that actually entails when you do 6 generations from dad's side, 6 generations on mom's side. You can't believe how many people that involves and their life and what they did, what they didn't do, how they did it. In my family tree on my father's side, turns out there was way back there was a serial killer, and that karma, since I'm the last of the family, was coming to me. I had to get another healer to help me remove that a couple of years ago. I never knew. It's really so ancestral, unresolved ancestral energy. It has to be resolved. All things must be resolved. As Jordan Peterson so rightly says, the great psychologist, nothing is missed and there's no escape from anything on any level, on any scale. So that's a big one. And that's another situation where we have to really rely a lot on the divine specifically. And I call them in for that. Let's see here. What do we have? How can parents create healthy relationships with their children? What a lovely question. Now, I was never a dad, but almost all my clients are moms or dads. And of course, I was a little kid one time. Number one of the most important, always be sure that the children know that you, what is the word I'm searching for? Not only that you adore them and you accept them as they are, but they have to have admired. Children, all of us want to be admired by our mom and our dad. Especially the boys need to be admired by their dad. Almost no boy grows up and knows that his dad admires him. And it's a huge mistake. And it makes massive gaps for the boy growing up into a man. It's an enormous wound. Do your very best to listen to them, admire them, respect them, acknowledge them. And the research shows that it isn't the length of time you spend with them, it's the quality of the time. So, as Eckhart Tolle would say, the greatest gift you can give another person is your presence. So, you need to listen to them, look at them, be with them fully. And then, of course, if you're a dad, they need to feel safe. If you're a mom, they need to feel that enormous love. With dad, they need to feel clarity and clear boundaries. And mom, the nurturing, love, care, tenderness, all of the good old fashioned stuff. None of the sci fi garbage. Okay, next. How can relation with their children? How can parents? Okay, can narcissistic relationship, any kind of relationship can be healed. It isn't ever a matter of can it be healed or not. Anything can be. But it needs the time. It needs the attention. So if the relationship is important enough. Now this word narcissistic, I highly recommend basically you just throw it in the garbage because probably 98% of the population doesn't have a clue what narcissistic behavior is in the first place. What they call narcissistic is not narcissistic. It's just simple, healthy pride and self-image. They don't know what narcissistic is. Don't let yourself get caught up. That's like a fad these days, and it's mostly trash. Don't worry too much about that. But any kind of relationship, any kind of anything can be healed. Anything. The trick is, will you take the time and the effort to do it? That's all. That's all. How do unresolved issues with parents affect romantic relationships? Very good question. So parents are the kingpin. That's why you're alive. They brought you into the world. The pillars of everything in the subconscious is from them. Your heart connection, everything comes through mom and dad. If the issues there are like, for instance, when I married Tammy, it took me 12 years because I left America in our 13th year of marriage. It took me 12 years in that marriage as an older man and a doctor and all these different titles I had to recognize that Tammy, I married Tammy from unresolved issues with my mom. And I had walled off totally a period of 20 years with mom. I couldn't see it. I had no memory of it until it was finally brought out and triggered in the spiritual process with Dr. Rossi McClellan in Atlanta, Georgia. And as soon as I finally had the memory was renewed, I could see Tammy and my relationship with Tam clear as a bell. And Tam married me, unresolved issues with her father. Most of you, most of us, most people will be attracted and marry the unresolved mom if you're a man, or vice versa. It goes that way. So if you are lucky, if you're one of the lucky ones, and you've worked on, or you were raised in such a way that there's no problems with mom, no problems with dad, which is, as rare as a diamond in finding a diamond in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. But when that is there, your relationships with your spouse and your lover and your best friend is easy, and it's healthy, and it works, and it's smooth, because everything is based through your mom and your dad. That's why the last collective is mom and dad. We're doing relationships first, and then we're going to do the kingpin, mom and dad, last. How to unresolve? Let's see. How can someone rebuild trust after experience? Now, there's a real question. Now, um, this is a very deep question. How can someone rebuild trust after experiencing betrayal? This is a trouble spot for me as a doctor, because uh, loyalty is my fundamental nature, and if there is a betrayal, that's real tough. Um, that's real tough. In my earlier years, I was never able to do that. Um, how can you rebuild? Well, we can go through depth healing technology, and we remove the hurts, and then with a high understanding of the fact that everything is dependently arising, dependently ceasing, you have to be big enough, and with enough consciousness to see your role in why the betrayal occurred in the first place. Plus, you have to be able to see that their behavior when they betrayed you, that's their programming. See, everything is programming. So it's all programming. And if you can be a big enough, with enough consciousness to look at that in a very magnanimous way, you would be able to forgive, and it will naturally heal. But we're talking about a very high level. That's a very high level, and it's not a quick situation. That's a real strong one. That's, at least for me, it's a real strong one. What role does forgiveness play in creating healthy and lasting relationships? Forgiveness is essential for all of us, because like you'll notice when you work with for forgiveness with me, or with any high level healer, or any high level, uh, like someone like Jordan Peterson, um, the first thing is that you have to forgive yourself, then you forgive them, you give them permission to forgive you, And then you must identify what you learned, how you grew due to the hurt in the relationship. So you first forgive yourself, then you forgive them, you give them permission to forgive you, and then you acknowledge and find what was it I learned or how did I grow? Because if you don't forgive, you only are hurting yourself, and you hurt yourself in a very significant way. You can get cancer from that. You can develop dementia or anything from that because that's heavy, and it can manifest itself as grief and sink into your lungs and give you lung cancer. It can manifest itself, if you don't forgive, as an anger and destroy your liver. You can do just it'll go because it's a powerful, these are all powerful energies. Forgiveness is essential because everyone is only a product of their programming. They really are. So if you buy a brand new computer, this is a new computer. Johnny helped me get this computer. He selected it. If a big fancy virus jumps into the computer and destroys it, it's not the computer, the virus got in there. So now the computer is wiped out. That's a programming, it's a program in the computer, right? Same thing when you look at a human being. Because when all the programming is gone, what does that mean? Well, let's let's take a cadaver. Person's dead. Let's get a couple of them. So right here we lay down this one guy, and he's dead, and he was a serial killer. Serial killer, tortured and murdered, 50 people. And over here is Mother Teresa. She's dead and she's laying there. She's a little tiny sweetheart of a lady. Helps, God only knows how many people, serves God. And you look at both of them; they're completely equal. Completely equal. Same thing if he's a real rich person and real poor, dirt poor bum. When they're dead, 100% equal. When they're alive, different programming over here, different programming over there. Different means different life here, different life there. Different behavior here, different behavior there. They're both dead, completely equal. Okay? Make sense? Jury. What are red flags to be aware of when meeting someone? Oh, that's a very interesting question, but that's the way to answer that question. In psychological literature, they probably got little lists of red flags of certain things, like if they won't make eye contact, something's off there. You see, a red flag, jury, is that's your alarm system. My red flags will be different from your red flags. I was always, I've always been overly trusting. I grew up really naive, and I would assign credibility to people based on their position. Like if he's a doctor, I automatically respected him. If he's a police officer, if he's in a uniform, I automatically comply with him because I'm honoring his position. That's not a smart way to grow up, but I grew up that way. Um, so red flags will be specific to you. When I was a bouncer in Detroit and I was troubleshooting where it was very, very dangerous, I had a different set of parameters. My reticular activating center was searching for behaviors, red flags that indicated the guy was dangerous. He had concealed carry gun on him. Um, I was looking for that. I don't look for that now. Um, a red flag I look for here in Thailand is if someone meets you and right away they want money, money for this, money for that, money for that. And the only reason it's a red flag for me. The only reason they're with me is they want my money. They don't care about me. They just want my money. That's like a little red flag for me in Thailand. So red flags depend on your profession, your value system, because your brain's going to be searching according to what you actually value, what's important to you. Um, if a woman comes up to me and she looks real sexy and beautiful, but she's all covered in holes, I don't, uh, my value system, they can go somewhere else or they can change their clothes. So it's very red flags are specific to you. Next, does anybody else have a question? I love the questions. These are all very beautiful, nice and deep. Makes me think. What are some techniques to resolve conflicts without escalating them? What are some techniques to resolve conflicts? I have one that Gene Hinman taught me years ago. It works like a dream because Gene Hinman was a very, very top level executive in the corporate world, and a lot of backbiting and all politics, all kinds of stuff. And what Gene will do is when they want to argue with you or they accuse you or whatever, you smile and you look at them and say, you're probably right. Yeah, you're probably right. And see, as soon as you do that, where can they go? See, a ping pong match will only continue if you return the ball. If someone throws an insult or something at you and it just passes through, right? Not there's nothing here, then it just disappears. You know what I mean? It just disappears, and it really works really nicely. Try that sometime. Just say, yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, but you did this, and you say, yeah, you're probably right. You got that correct, and then it just stops them. Try that. That's one of the little tricks that Gene taught me a long time ago. How do our relationships? Oh, that see here's the nitty gritty. How do our relationships mirror our own inner state? Now, the number one relationship for this, is your spouse or your lover, your primary relationship. And then from that one, then you can look at the circle of five that are the closest to you. That's exactly what they do. Like your wife or your husband or your lover is mirroring you. They're mirroring us. And uh, what we are projecting from us, or what our dominant, the dominant kind of consciousness and program that we're living, you'll see that in them. And one of the things to do is you have to notice yourself. What are you feeling? So when you're with your husband, your wife, or whomever, what is your state? What are you feeling? And then you think to yourself, what or why or how, because that's what they do. So like when let's go back to me and my ex-wife Tammy. I had the unresolved issue of wanting to make my mom proud of me, and I tried all my life to make my mom proud of me, and she was never proud of me until I turned about 30. When I went back to university, all of a sudden I was doing something she could relate to. Until that age, my family was ashamed of me, always. So I married Tammy. Tammy was uh, like a carbon copy of mom. And sure enough, the entire over a decade that I was married to Tammy, no matter what I did, I could never, she was never proud of me, and she was never happy. And the trick was I tried everything 24/7, year after year, to do something so that she would be proud of me, she would see me, and she would be happy. She never was, ever. And so my wound from mom, I was trying to heal it, and Tammy was the mirror to find that wound. The wound was so deep in me, it required special procedures with Rossi McClellan. And finally, it opened. I saw the issue. Once I saw the issue, was able to heal it with no problem at all. I went to Dr. Habersky and got Diksha, and then I left. I have Oi now, but that had to be found. So now I have Oi, and Oi is my mirror completely as the man I am now, and I'm her mirror as the woman she is now. So I hope I answered that question. That's that's the whole ball of wax. What do we got here? How do our relations how do you ensure your needs are met without seeming demanding or needy? How can you ensure your needs are met without being demanding or needy? Well, we all have needs. The thing to do in your relationships is focus on giving, like be other centered. We are all automatically self-centered because we're alive. So even like a baby, when a baby is a little ball of joy, but they're needy. That's why they cry so that they get food or whatever. We all have our needs, but the trick is a good ideal to see is a mom with a new little baby. The mother is putting all their attention on that little baby. And love is one way. If you do that, your needs will automatically be met. They'll automatically be met. That is going with the assumption that you got a nice alignment, you know. But the job of each of us is to be other centered. Put your attention and your on them. What do they need? Because remember, they're your mirror, and you'll find automatically everything. The return is automatic. Our job is the giving, and receiving is automatic. Just like your job is, it takes muscular force to breathe out. Breathing in is automatic because there's a vacuum, but it takes a diaphragmatic contraction to breathe out. That's why all spiritual traditions worldwide, across all cultures, focus on the out breath. They never focus on the in breath, ever. So your job as a human in your relationships is giving attention to them, because later on I'll help understand they are making you. The other is making us. That's a high concept, but all you have to do right now to have your needs met is by you doing and giving. If they never notice or nothing return, that is your indication that that relationship is wrong. It's not an alignment. There's that's how you know that uh, there's nothing there. But still, you put your attention on give. You send your love out. This society now, with their new psychologies over the last couple decades, everything is the I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. And they are not centered on loving and giving. And that's what causes all the societal trouble we have now. Next, let's see here. Kimberly, all good. The video will be set. Any questions? This is more of a suggestion. I'm a college psychology. I had a professor suggest to not let an argument escalate, touch the person's arm. Oh, I like that, Judy. What the professor is suggesting there is quite wise. What's occurring is by touching them, it's breaking the story by making a connection, a kinesthetic tactile connection to break the story and restore the heart is good. You can't always touch everybody, because some people you might touch them, they'll punch you in the mouth. Everything is time by time, situation by situation. But do you understand why that works? Uh, that's what's going on. That's a good one. I saw Jimmy Stewart say one time uh, regarding a wife. He's counseling a young man that's about to marry, and he says, if your wife she's crying and you don't know why, and let's say she don't know why either, just put your arms around them and hold them. Don't say anything. Just hold them. And that goes for the opposite way too. You don't need words. You need feeling. See, relationships are not cognitive. It's not mental. Relationship is heart. Feel. It's heart. The relationships that suffer the most is because they're all in their head, and then that won't do it. That won't do it. Make sense? Okay, so it looks like we're closing. So I want to say thank you. Let me post a thank you here, and I love you all. Now, um, let's see. Oh, now remember, don't miss the collective on this. It's foundational. And then the last one is the big boy. That's the parents. And that will seal the collectives for 2024. Very big, very important, very critical. Go to the website and tell everyone else you know to go to the website. And while Christmas is still on, the discounts are there. Get in to see me privately. That's the deep dive, vertical dive into you and your relationships, your life. And the collectives were taking the big sheets, taking the big layers off of the onion. Remember this, guys. All of this work and all of your life until you're dead is a process that deepens and goes and deepens and goes. Nothing is just cleared and then it's gone. It's what the only thing that's gone is what we worked on at that time. That's all. It continues forever, and it continues after you die. Just the process completely different. But nothing ceases. Nothing ceases. So embrace this kind of work because it's the most profound work you can ever do, ever. The journey of your existence, the cultivation of your consciousness, the engineering of a beautiful life, the taking on of the challenges as they come, because the challenges will always come. Always. That's what it's here for. That's why we're here. Okay. I love you all, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Take good care of yourself. And I guess, Johnny, I'll say bye for now.